Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Clara's Chronicles, where today is boring, so let's get exploring. I found this article that I found super interesting. If you are someone who is into reincarnation, multiple lives, or past lives, stay tuned because you are going to love this article. So let me go ahead and reduce my thumbnail, and we will go ahead and begin. So the title of this article is Mystery of Little Sappho of Greenwich Village. Psychology explains the interesting case of a child who, when only 5, declared herself the ancient poetess born again and has been writing poems ever since that perplex scholars. And this was in the Richmond Times-Dispatch in Sunday, September 12th of 1920. Now we'll go ahead and start with this little image we have here. It says Sappho and Alcaeus, the painting by Alma Tadema, which represents the violet-tressed, sweetly smiling poetess of ancient Greece, listening to the poems of the poet who loved her, but whom she did not love. One of the most curious manifestations of the obscure and baffling possibilities of the human mind recently to come to the attention of psychological science is that of 12-year-old Juanita Clavet of Greenwich Village, New York City. 7 years ago, when she was only 5, this little girl, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Murden Clavet, the father a lecturer and her mother a graduate physician, calmly announced to the latter that she was her daughter in body only, but that the consciousness which inhabited the body was that of Sappho, the ill-fated Grecian poetess of 2,500 years ago. Since that time, the child has persisted in her attitude, has given what she claims to be details of her previous life, and has written a number of truly extraordinary poems. In all other ways, she is normal, happy, lovable little girl. She has been the subject of quiet study by scholars of the fragments of Sapphic writings that have come down from that remote age and by students of that same civilization. These profess themselves amazed at the child's descriptions and the actual information contained therein, whose method of acquirement by the child frankly puzzled them. Scientological science, it's a bit light on these articles that are super old, no less interested, believes the case to be a form of dissociated personality, of which the classic example is the case of Miss Beauchamp, studied by the distinguished alienist Dr. Morton Prince, whose findings threw new and astonishing light upon the obscure and powerful possibilities of the human mind. In the case of Miss Beauchamp, there were 4 alternating personalities or states of consciousness, each of which at various times was the dominant mental force in the body of Miss Beauchamp. It was the task of science to merge the best of them into one complete consciousness, which then became the normal personality of the subject. How this was done, those interested can read in the narrative of the case published by Dr. Prince. Mrs. Clavet is a woman of extremely healthy mentality, and before her marriage practiced medicine. She is the daughter of a prominent New York physician and was a classmate of Florence Pullman, now the wife of Governor Loudon of Illinois. Her upbringing of her little daughter has been pursued along the everyday lines. The child had heard fairy stories and could only read within the limited scope of the average 5-year-old. Imagine then how I felt, says Mrs. Clavet, when just after her 5th birthday, Juanita came to me and said, "Mama, who was Sappho?" I corrected her, thinking that she was trying to speak the name of a then widely advertised cleansing powder, whose name she had doubtless heard or seen. "No," insisted the baby, "I mean a woman, Sappho. I know her name, but not who she was. Why did you and father name me Juanita? I should have been called Sappho, for that is who I really am." The mother laughed and teased her little one. The child said nothing until her father returned, and then reopened the subject. I remember another name now, Fan. That's just how I'm going to pronounce it to make this easy. I'm not sure the exact pronunciation. I know that I loved him, and I think that I killed myself because he did not love me. This curious utterance coming from the lips of almost a baby brought no laughter. The parents questioned her. Had she read anything of Sappho? Had anyone spoken to her the story? She shook her head. No, it had just come to her. It came to her at 5 years old. Imagine how crazy that is. She remembered the names, and there were others that were forming in her mind. And baby as she was, they tried to reason with her. Sappho was a Grecian, they told her. If you are Sappho, why do you not speak to us in Greek? The child seemed puzzled. I speak what I think, she said. It comes to me and I say it. What is Greek? For some months, little Juanita did not return to the subject, and the mother, though still mystified and not a little worried, believed that she had forgotten it. But one day she found Juanita writing. She was then a little over 6, and this is what she read. Silently the stars are shining, shining in the still moonlight. Softly the wind is singing, singing through the night. Chanting a wild, weird song of love, the trees are swinging now. The sea is deep and fearful, in its depths I see the drowned clay body that once belonged to me. A 6-year-old, okay? That's what makes this so interesting. There's no way. The significance of the last 4 lines gave a decided shock. For Sappho, the legend says, in despair over the hopelessness of her love for the Grecian fan, flung herself into the sea from a high cliff on one of the Ionian islands, and this cliff is known to this day as Sappho's Leap. They asked her where she had read the verses that she had written. She said that they were her own, and went on calmly. I was a great poetess. I was Sappho. And what I write now is what I remember of that time. I saw my body beneath the sea where I had leaped because Fan did not love me, and I wrote of it. Again, the parents tried to reason with her, but they could not get past that strange conviction in the little maid's mind. That it made the mother unhappy, and that she is still unhappy, is undeniable. When she was 8, says the mother, I had a crying spell over her. It troubled me, and it troubles me now, because she is so unlike other girls. I said to her, Juanita, try as you will, I cannot make you out. And her answer made me weep more. She said, don't try, mother. I came back here to work another reincarnation and spiritual redemption, and chose you for my mother because you had a clean body and your mind was bright enough to make you companionable. But you will never really understand me. You never can, so please don't try. A month ago, Juanita announced that she is destined to live on this earth only 12 years longer. By the time I am 24, she said, I will be united to Fan, but not here. It will be in another world where he will give me all the love he denied me centuries ago. And after that, I will never come back to this earth. Now, Sappho, as all students of Greek history and literature know, was a lesbian. Poetess of good family, who lived about 6 centuries before the Christian era. The chief motives of the poem which made her famous were love and the beauty of nature. They contained no profound thoughts and few striking images, but are marked by exquisite beauty of diction and liquid lapse of rhythm. From the fragments of her work which have come down to us, it is inferred that she practiced or taught the art of poetry in a school of maidens of about her own age. She was devotedly attached to these maidens, composing their bridal odes when they left her to marry. Sappho was a contemporary of the poet Alcaeus, and with him the chief creator of what is known as the Aeolian lyric. According to legend, Alcaeus was in love with her, but she is said to have preferred a handsome young Greek called Fan. Her love for him, however, was unrequited, and in despair she killed herself. Here is the English translation of one of Sappho's famous poems. The luminous moon fled with the Pleiades, The silent night soon falls and nature fades. Pleiades, maybe that's the pronunciation. The hour passed all alone, on my couch I restless lie, as tears and anguished moan those words decry. For the love that in my breast, which doth continuously agitate, is sweet but robs me of rest, and fain would seek its mate. And here are some of little Juanita Clavet's poems on which the theory of the reincarnation in her of Sappho is based. Mist of Jewels is the title of one of them. It was written at the age of 7. Keep that in mind. Mists of jewels rise into the air, amethysts of sin-lost souls laid bare, emeralds of purity with fire of astral light, rubies dark and rich with flames of night, passion's diamond shining clear through false, sapphire gleaming with heartache's blue, mists of jewels form their love in you. Another, written at the age of 8, named Without Power. I ran along the lake's smooth waters, I flew across the sky. I breathed the perfume from love's bower, I am passion without power. Another, written at the age of 10, called A Prayer. Aphrodite, the mother of me in spirit, I pray to you this morn, that you will answer to me in the voice of the wind. Will you give to me the power over hearts, that I may lie on the cool, clinging sods this night, and singing up to my throne of my sacrifice to love, I am pure through pilgrimages of hells. I suffered my bodily sins so long ago. Grant me the gift of pure love, for now I understand. Is this little girl actually the vessel that holds the reincarnated soul of the Sappho of over 2 millenniums ago? And are her verses the echoes of that poetic genius which delighted poetic Greece 6 centuries before the Christian era? Or is her case one of those upon the dim borderland of psychology which science is only beginning to penetrate? Here is what one of the foremost physicians and psychologists of New York has to say upon science's viewpoint of the matter. Science finds this a rare but not a unique case by any means. Of course, the idea of soul transmigration is not accepted by any scientist. Until such time as science can prove the existence of a soul, it accounts for cases like this of little Juanita in a very natural, though unusual, way. We must not forget one axiomatic saying of the scientist. We must not posit any explanation of a phenomenon greater than would account for it. In other words, why suppose that the soul of Sappho has really reappeared in this little 20th century child, if we can account for her own idea, that she is the reborn Sappho in a simpler way? The same treatment must be given to the case of Juanita. We are apt to underestimate the intellectual power of children, and she is evidently a highly gifted child, or as her mother says, different from other children. She is unquestionably a case of dissociated personality, such as was made famous by Dr. Morton Prince in his notable case of Miss Beauchamp, who was possessed not of 2, but of 4 distinct personalities, each one of which might have been claimed to be the transmigrated soul of 3 or more long-defunct men or women. But the learned investigator allowed no such claim. He went about a careful scientific investigation and finally succeeded in securing the complete fusion of all of the personalities, save one, which was almost entirely lost or destroyed. Dr. Prince calls this the death of Sally. It may be that under the stimulus of the fixed idea that she is Sappho redivivus, Juanita will produce some poems of real beauty and no little literary value. In so far the world may be the richer for her second personality. It may be that this poetic nature is the real Juanita, and that it will rise to the ascendancy and give the world a new Sappho. But it would certainly be straining the bounds of credulity to assert that the soul of Sappho has come to life again in this charming little girl. Little Juanita is most probably absolutely sincere and truthful in her contention that she is Sappho come into being once more. But science points to the subconscious mind and says, yes, Juanita, you believe it, but we do not. For your own little mind, working beneath the threshold of consciousness, has given you this idea, as it has to many hundreds of others. The best test will be time itself, and the world can well afford to wait and see what the outcome will be. Will Juanita become a normal young woman, dropping the subconscious suggestion as she becomes older and less emotional? Or will she prove herself a great poetess? I love this article so much. I tried searching for Juanita, but I didn't get an update on her. But this is a really cool story. Here are the photos that I kind of wanted to show. There's Juanita. It says, little Juanita Clavet in two poses, who believes she is the reincarnated spirit of Sappho, the poetess, and whose case is arousing widespread attention among psychologists. So this is so amazing. I also wanted to show a painting of Sappho. It says Sappho of Lesbos, painting by John William Godward in 1904. Through her poetry, which included love between women, she gave the term lesbian its modern meaning. So hope you guys learned something from this. I hope you found it interesting, cool. Please leave your comments below. I have a ton of articles like this I will be sharing week by week, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing and like it. Give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. And until next time, enjoy your night. Thank you so much for joining me. Goodbye.